Hello YouTube, this is Dazza the cameraman. Today is Monday, June the 12th, 2017. It's just gone 6 p.m. New Zealand time. And I'm very pleased to have with me YouTuber Soundly. Welcome along, Soundly.
Thanks for having me, Dazza.
You're welcome. Now, a little while back, a few weeks back, I did a shout out video for Soundly pointing to his excellent videos filming the power pylons and bridge across Lake Pontchartrain. And these clearly show the curvature of the Earth as those power pylons or power towers curve over the curvature of the Earth. Now, normally we can't actually see the curvature of the Earth because we can't see the curvature as we're looking away, and of course we can't see the curvature across our field of view because we can never actually see enough horizon to be able to see that. In order to see only one tiny degree of curvature, which would be impossible to see anyway, we would need to be able to see 69 miles or 111 kilometers of horizon from left to right. But we can see the curvature or the effect of curvatures by doing things such as filming tall ships as they sail away from us, and we can use the ship as a measuring device to actually measure how many feet of curvature or drop that we're seeing there. And in Soundly's case, he's been able to use these power pylons to clearly show the curvature. So what I'm going to do, I'll share my screen and we'll take a quick look at some of Soundly's videos there. I'll take you to his channel first, and let's take a look at that. And let me see what I'm doing here. Just got a technical problem here, and I need to present to everyone. Here we go. Okay, you can see my screen, Soundly?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Soundly's YouTube channel, and I'll provide a link in the description area or underneath the Hangout video to Soundly's channel. So check out Soundly, and if we go to Soundly's videos, and we can see a whole bunch of those excellent videos that he's done showing the curvature. I mean, you can even see it clearly here in the thumbnails. Now, of course, the flat Earth community have been in a flap over this, and as usual, we're hearing all the usual excuses such as perspective and refraction and lens distortion and all sorts of excuses. But I think we have to say that the quality of these images from Soundly, and he has gone back several times, taken a number of videos, cannot be dismissed as far as refraction and so on. Now, I have seen another video, and Soundly, you might want to comment on that in a moment. There's another video showing power pylons from Lake Pontchartrain, apparently showing no curvature, but when we look at that video, we see that the end of the pylons just turns into a messy blur, and we can't actually make out anything where it really matters, unlike in your videos. Do you want to comment on that, Soundly?
Yeah, sure. So I looked at that, and there's actually, I think, flat Earth objections answered. I actually covered that, and one of the things you'll notice is that there are actually curves in those lines. The lines aren't actually straight, and if you put a ruler edge to the top and bottom of those towers, then you'll notice that there are curves. Now, I found it really hard to make any conclusions at all from that video because of what you said. It's very low quality. It's hard to tell even what's going on. And in my opinion, it looks like there's basically a very large mirage type effect that's happening, causing a reflection. Regardless, they're still not perfectly straight, which is what you would expect them to be. We tend to have this reoccurring problem, it seems like, with flat Earth, which is you have one crew that is set up to say everything should be perfectly straight, and then the next day they turn around and say, well, no, of course it's going to curve because of the perspective, or of course it's going to curve because of refraction, and then the next crew will say, well, no, it's supposed to be straight. And so they're using a video that's showing straightness while they're trying to explain away curvature with refraction at the same time, which one is it? And the reason we can't ever get a straight answer from them is because they don't even have a model that can make a prediction. And so they're free to just kind of willy-nilly throw accusations around. But the reality is, the videos that I've seen on the internet of this location, there's actually another flat Earth video that shows the same location using the magical P90 zoom lens, and it also shows curvature. Now, the conclusion that flat earther is trying to draw on that video is that it's due to perspective, but the curvature is there, and that's what's important, I think, is that the observation can be made, and it was made by another YouTuber who was actually a flat earther. So then if you compare his videos to my video, obviously I'm getting very sharp images because I've gone back multiple times. I've managed to rig up a tripod on a mount that's mounted to the car for a hand-free picture. And I'm taking a picture with, super high resolution picture that can't be matched by even 4K. So of course it's, I'm going to get better resolution than a handheld P90 zoom. Now, I think if they put a P90 on a tripod and zoomed in, they'd probably be able to get a decent picture. But no one's done that yet. Now, there are rumors that Dr. Zack is going to do that. I look forward to it because unless he's going to deceive everybody and actually lie about the video or doctor it somehow, he'll see the same observation.
Right. So now let's have a little talk about Dr. Zack's video, and this is the one here: flat Earth, curved water found, debunked. And again, I'll put a link in the description area to this video. Now, I have to say I was rather shocked going through this video by Dr. Zack, and you addressed this in your response video, is that in his response video, Dr. Zack goes through and points out a few things which he claims about your video. Now, specifically here, as we can see, he is pointing out the line of the power pylons in your video. The problem is that these are not the power pylons in your video.
Yeah, and an even bigger problem is that I have a number of live stream videos where I have actually gone and shown this line of power lines from Pier 1. If you look almost directly to the left of your mouse cursor there, you see a die. Can you see that on the screen? Like well, his mouse cursor, I suppose. My bad. Right on the right side of his yellow line there, there's a die right there. That's Treasure Chest Casino, which I went out to this little pier that's right next to it called Pier 1. And I filmed from there and took pictures from there of the causeway, and I took pictures of those towers from there. So my opinion is that either one, he has not watched the videos and so therefore doesn't have enough contextual information to comment on them, as clearly he's made an error here, or two, he did watch the videos, saw that information in my video, and chose to use those transmission lines for his video. I'm not sure which one it is. I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt, but he clearly has the wrong transmission lines here.
Right. Now, this is a fairly impromptu hangout that we're doing. We were planning to do one maybe in the next couple of days, but it wasn't going to suit, so we've decided to do this fairly impromptu. So I'm just going to try and pull up in Google Earth on my laptop here so that we can take a closer look at the proper alignment. Here it comes. I'll share that over. And
I also like to point out that this whole series of videos came from objections from flat earthers. I put out a video flat earthers would make objections, and I'd put out another video to answer those objections, and flat earthers would make objections. I'd keep doing that. That's basically what this whole series of videos has been driven by. And I've tried to give as much information and give them basically the raw imagery, whatever they've asked for. I've tried to give it to them. And here's the thing about that, is that on the second video, the very first Grandpa Soundly video, Flat Earth Tears video, addresses this topic specifically about the towers, because they were the very first thing people said was that the towers were not in line. Well, the towers are in line, and Grandpa Soundly, quite clearly, in my opinion, answered that. And so just go back and look at it. That's all I've asked, is that people just go and look at the things that I've already answered, so we don't have to keep having, you know, grade school conversations. We can actually move on. It's going to be over there where the interstate curves into the land. It's over the water and it starts curving into the land on the left side of your screen there.
Over here.
What are you trying to look at right now?
I'm trying to find where
Casino?
the towers start.
Oh yeah, the towers start. Follow the interstate over the water to the left, to the northwest, and right before it curves back onto the land is just the observation point.
Here we go.
Right where your mouse is, right there. You know.
Okay, so I think we start with this. Is it this pilot? No, this one here. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all is to mark out the alignment that Dr. Zack is using in his video, where he incorrectly claims that the line, well, he actually correctly claims that this line of power pylons is not straight, which is absolutely right. The problem is he's looking at the wrong line of power pylons.
And if you look just where you are right there, you can see a pier right in the center of your bottom of your screen. That's Pier 1, where I went out and took video of those very same towers, very same transmission lines.
Yeah, I'm just checking to make sure that's coming through, because I know sometimes that there are problems with sharing a screen in Google Earth, but that seems to be coming through on the live feed. Okay, so that's a straight line that's marked there with the red line, and we can clearly see that this line of power pylons from where we started to where we ended is not a straight line. There's no disputing that at all. And in Dr. Zack's videos, this is the line of pylons that he's using and saying quite correctly, but they curve. Yes, they do curve. Now let's have a look at the correct line of power pylons that Dr. Zack should be looking at if he was doing this correctly and honestly. So we start with the same pylon, and I should point out too that this line of pylons, the ones that Soundly has filmed, is a line which goes for 16 miles. The line that Dr. Zack has used goes for only 10 miles. I'm just trying to pick up the line there. I've lost it. Need to maybe take a heading when I'm zoomed in. Okay, so my heading is 20.5 degrees. So if I continue with that heading, it should take us out about here somewhere, 20.5. So if I zoom in, I should see the towers. There they are.
I'd also like to point out that don't go to the tall tower, because the tall tower is offset to the left. So you want to go back down.
This one here?
Keep going down. So that tall tower is offset to the left of the main tower line.
Okay, this one here?
Yeah, the one that's in the water right there.
Okay, we'll go for that one. So we can see that this is actually a perfectly straight line along these towers. I've already checked this. Soundly has done at least a couple of videos showing this again and again and again, that this is a straight line of towers. They do not deviate. So Dr. Zack's premise that the reason that we see curvature in Soundly's video is utter nonsense, because we are in fact looking at a straight line of power pylons. Now, saw that.
I'd like to point this out, is that if you do look at, if you scroll through this line, right, like I've done before, you can see like where the satellite tiles like change slightly, right? So the angle that you see the towers change slightly back and forth, but all the towers lie on that line.
Oh, they do.
And the other thing about that is that if you actually take the video, the raw video that I've already shared, which is it's in my series. Let me try and pull it up real quick so I can tell you exactly what the name of it is. It's is it MVI 4368 stabilized, I think, or no, it's 4343 stabilized. I actually drive by the towers. So I drive from the south side of the towers to the north side of the towers while videoing, which is not easy to do. And yes, I know the video is shaky, but it's not possible to, unless you have really damn good equipment, which I don't have, and please buy it for me, but I don't have it. If you have really, you know, I'm basically driving with my camera attached to a tripod and trying to keep it stable at the same time on this very dangerous piece of real estate. So I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just trying to tell you what the situation is. So yes, it's shaky, but the video shows quite clearly, even better than Google Earth, that the transmission lines are, I mean, so precisely aligned. Whoever did this work deserves like some type of, I don't know, artist degree or something, because the lines are, by eye, almost dead on. Like I would not be surprised if they weren't within an inch of each other. So they even look more straight in person than they do on Google Earth. So there is no doubt that these towers are directly in line with each other.
Right. Now, is this the video where you drove right across the end of the towers and we're actually looking right down the alignment?
Yeah, exactly. You can move forward just a little bit.
Here we go.
Yeah.
There it is. Yep, there it is.
And if you frame by frame that full screen, I mean, you can see that they're dead on with each other. There are some clear frames in there.
Let's slow that down to quarter speed, and I'll play that.
So there are some really clear, like I would say, clearer than other frames in there, where you can see that the towers are just dead on in line with each other, as far as your eye can see. Now,
this first tower here that we see, which is at a different angle to the rest, that's where the power lines actually split off to head off into the other direction, isn't it?
Right.
Yep. So
that's one of the bigger towers. I'm actually not sure how tall that tower is, because that's not even the tall tower. The tallest tower, the one in the very back of my observations, the one that you can see in the night shot that has like a red light at the top of it. Mm-hmm. That tower is 210 feet tall, based on FAA data.
Right.
So that tower is probably twice as tall as the smaller towers.
Mm-hmm. So when you were filming that, let's take a look at where you would have been on the highway. Is that what you call it here?
Yeah, that's Interstate 10. That's what it's called.
Okay, so you're driving along here, and of course you're not actually able to stop there and do any filming. So you're having to film as you go.
Right.
And I mean, it would be great to be able to pull up there and stop, but it's just not something that you can do. I don't know. I'm guessing it's probably illegal to stop there unless you've broken down.
Yes, that's an emergency lane. I mean, I guess technically what I was doing was probably illegal. I don't know. I put the blinkers on, but anyway, um, I I eventually bought a cheap tripod and drilled some holes in a board, and basically anchored the tripod into the board, and then anchored the board down to my chair with some bungees, so that I wouldn't have to be touching the camera. And that's so this shot right here is done on that tripod. Now I was moving the tripod left to right, and it was a cheap tripod, so there's a lot of stickiness to it. So I probably could do even better if I got a better tripod. But this has been like an incremental process, right? I mean, I didn't get all the specifications up front, and to know what all the objections were going to be. So this has definitely been an incremental process, and I would love to go back with some better hardware, and I will eventually. But yeah, right. There you go. There's a tripod.
Okay. So here's a tripod on the platform, and I see from this one the window was open, and I've watched this video, is that you had to demonstrate that you actually had your window down, and
yeah.
and this is the thing that we encounter. You know, I've done several flat Earth debunking videos, and it doesn't matter how good, it doesn't matter how careful you are, there will always be somebody that says, but you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you know, and you have to go to the nth degree to try and satisfy every little criticism that they have, you know.
Yeah,
but at the same time, they'll produce a video where they don't go to half as much trouble, like that other video that I mentioned,
right.
showing the towers, where the video quality, where it really matters, it's just a blurry mess, and you can't even see the towers. Now, if you or I had presented that video, we would have been shot down in flames.
Yeah.
So it's completely unacceptable.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things I've tried to do, is give everyone all the information that they've asked for, and met the objections, going back out there, taking my time, and actually buying equipment to go out there and do this, so that you know, all the objections could be met. And ultimately what ends up happening is that once all the objections have been met, they ultimately say it's fake, you know. So that's what, you know, this is what this video right here was part of, that natural evolution of them finally getting to, well, it has to be fake, because now they're, you know, saying, well, my window was not down, you know, so I'm filming through this curved window. So yeah, what I did is I went out and showed clearly this label on my window whenever it's up, and it's not in the original video. Right. There's also a scratch on my tent and stuff like that. We jump through these hoops to give them the information, because we actually want people to not be deceived, and yet we're the ones that are being called deceivers. And I think it's hilarious, because it's like the exact opposite of reality.
Right. Now, the other thing that you've done too, which you've done for all of your videos, is that you have provided all of this information in the description area. Okay, it's not in this one, but in the other ones that really matter. Which one should I look at here, Soundly?
You can look at the first one. I mean, the first one has, if you go to the playlist, it's the very first one in the playlist.
Okay.
There's curved water playlist over there.
Okay.
Yeah, so the very first video is when I started getting the objections, and that's when I started adding a bunch of stuff into the description box for people to take a look at.
Mm-hmm. So here is all the information, and Soundly has kindly provided all of this detail. He's provided a Google Drive folder where all this information can be accessed. So it's, you know, it's all there for everybody to scrutinize and so on. Now I see in the chat there's a lot happening in the chat at the moment, and Mick West has sent me a Google Earth mock-up of the line of towers. So thank you for that, Mick. Much appreciated. I see Jerry BC3 has asked, is it possible to film from the other side?
So there's a guy I've been talking to that lives in the city right down the road from me. He's been following this series, and he has a boat. He wants to go to the other side and take a picture. Now, what I can say is that in Google Earth, if you still have Google Earth open, Dazza,
Let up.
go to that far tower.
The far tower.
I'm not seeing it in the video. Hold on one second. I'm seeing, what am I seeing? I'm seeing your browser right now. I'm not seeing Google Earth.
Okay, let me just check that. Okay, and so what are we going to see just while I pull that up?
So if you go to the far tower, there's going to be, if you have the pictures turned on, there's a picture just above the far towers and a little bit to the left, and it says something like "Man Shack" on the thumbnail that pops up.
Okay, you're seeing that?
Yeah, I'm seeing it now.
Okay.
So one of those little, I think it's the one that was directly above the end of the red line on the opposite shore.
This one here?
Yeah, but look at the little picture icon. Go up. Yeah, it's just like that, but it's the other one up above it and to the right a little bit. It's no, to the left. Go back to the left. Scroll up. I mean, pan out a little bit. There it is.
This one?
You see it? Yeah, that one. Click that. So this is a picture from the other side, and you can see the towers on the back side right there. I'm planning on going back there to take pictures. One of the problems is how do I get to 40 feet to take to basically mirror the image going back the other direction. I don't know that there is a way, so I'm going to have to go scout out that area first and take some pictures and try and get an idea on how to get up higher so I can try and replicate the same shot from the opposite end. But the point I wanted to make about that particular picture is that you can see the towers are clearly the same type of tower, and it's the same height, and it's, I mean, all the information is there. And I've said this a number of times. I'm not the only guy, like that's not how science works, and that's not how I expect everybody to just look at these pictures and believe them. Go out there yourself and take the pictures. And that's what I've told all the flat earthers. Until then, shut your mouth and stop being deceptive about things. That's the thing that's frustrating, is like they want to make they want to be keyboard warriors, and they want to make all these accusations about the towers, but they're not willing to buy the plane ticket and fly to New Orleans. Well,
it's amazing. Just a couple of days ago, I had somebody accusing me of faking some video that I took of Jupiter when I correctly adjusted the camera to show the exposure and focus correctly. We keep seeing people presenting what they claim is what Jupiter and Saturn and Venus and stars are supposed to look like. But of course, they're showing through a P900 that is not properly focused. When I showed the images correctly focused and exposed, he accused me of using video editing software and what else? Basically, it was all a CGI hoax, according to him. And I said to him, well, how about you go out and buy a P900 or get your hands on one and try and do the same thing as I've shown here and prove me wrong, In fact, I said, if you can do it, I'll give you $1,000. Well, truth is I didn't have $1,000 to give him, but I knew that I wouldn't have to give him $1,000 because I knew I was telling the truth, so it wasn't an issue.
Exactly. So speaking of that, one of the biggest things that they want to bring up now is lens distortion. And somehow lens distortion is the reason that you're seeing curvature. Well, unless my eyes have lens distortion built into them, that's not the problem. The problem is that the Earth is round, and they don't like that. But I did, and you know, going back to that Google Drive folder, this is a part of the series of objections that I got from flat earthers was about lens distortion. So what I did is I took a grid, and I took my camera to full zoom, 300 at 300 millimeters, and I took a picture of that grid, and I actually provided the raw image that I took that picture of, so you can look at all the metadata. You can see what camera I was using and what lens I was using and what the millimeter and what focal length I had on it. And I had a 300 millimeter focal length, and I laid that picture over the top of another picture that I took at 300 millimeter focal length, and you can see clearly that the lens distortion is not the reason that the towers are curving. The towers are curving because it's actually curving geometrically.
Yeah. Now you showed me some of that before we started the Hangout. I don't know if you're in a position to share your screen for the Hangout, but certainly if you want to, you could go ahead and do that. Now, Mick West is going to join the Hangout as well. I've opened the file in Google Earth, so I'm just going to send him the link, and he will be joining us shortly. And he can explain what we've got.
My screen set up a bit weird here, but you should be able to see on my screen now what I'm talking about.
Just give me a moment. Just sending this link on. Okay, and back to the Hangout, and close that, and present.
Am I up?
Okay, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, so here's the raw image I was talking about, where I took a picture of a grid, and we can look at it. So there is what's called pincushion distortion on my lens, but it's pincushion distortion basically just bends from the top and bottom, basically slightly squeezing the image. And as you get closer to the center of that image, the distortion becomes less and less. And so what I did is I took this image right here, which is this is a perfect grid that I took a picture of. So even with the distortion, you can see quite clearly that it's almost a perfect grid. And if we go back to the image that I overlaid it with, the slight echo coming back for some reason. So here's the image I overlaid it with. You can see the grid pieces, you know, the cells of the grid right here, and you can see this curvature. I mean, the curvature is almost in one whole grid piece right here. So obviously, has nothing to do with lens distortion, nothing whatsoever.
Right.
And it's also nearly the center of my lens, which is where you would expect to see the least lens distortion.
Right.
So,
okay.
And
now,
the other thing I want. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just going to welcome in Mick West at this stage. Thank you for joining us, Mick. Good to see you along. Hang on, I think I've still got you muted here. Hang on. Are you still muted?
Oh, no, I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes,
All
thank
right.
you for coming on. Welcome.
Jolly good. So, yeah, I just saw what you were doing here, and it reminded me that earlier I did a little Google Earth recreation of this scene. And you know, it's kind of hard in Google Earth to get a straight line that goes, that conforms to the ground and goes over the horizon. So I wrote a little program that basically made the line for you. You could put in a couple of latitudes and longitudes, and it made the line. And when you view it in Google Earth, it gives the exact same curve that you see in these photographs and in the video. I don't know if you got it up on screen yet, but the curve, like from that viewpoint on the road, looks exactly the same as the curve in the photographs.
Okay, I can share that now, unless you've got it on your screen that you can share.
Yeah, I've got it here if you want me to.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, right.
I'll present your screen.
Okay. All right, so you see that there?
Yes.
Nice.
So this is, let me just give you a wide view here. This is the line of the pylons. And what I did, I wrote this little program that generates a path that has these points along it that are spaced approximately the same as the pylons are. You see the pylon base there, and then there's another one about the same distance over there. So it's not exactly the same, but it's giving you pretty much the same spacing. And I kind of guessed at the height. I can't remember what I did exactly. 30 meters, I think. It might be a little high. But the point is that it gives you the exact same curve. You can move back to this point here on the road where you did the drive-by and zoom right in. And this is a camera view that I have set up. And if I zoom in onto that, you can see the curve of the top of the lines going over the horizon does exactly the same as you see in the photographs.
That's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
And
now, this is a classic example of how the mathematical models support what we see in reality, and vice versa. And you know, maths is a pure science, unlike what a lot of the flat earthers like to say otherwise, and they seem to forget that if it weren't for math, we wouldn't even be having this conversation live from opposite sides of the earth right now. But that's a beautiful demonstration of the curvature and confirming what we see in Soundly's video.
Yeah, and I think this particular curve is something you see a lot if you look at things like the Pontchartrain Causeway. If you look at it closely, you see a very similar curve, and you see it in other things like in contrails going over the horizon as well.
Right. Yeah,
I would like to thank you for that, and I would definitely like to have a copy of it if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. I sent it to Dazza.
One of the things I want to comment on about this picture is how sharply the curve is curving over the horizon, and that's one of the things that the flat earthers bring up all the time. Well, if it was that sharp of a curve, then it would be a basketball, you know, that we live on. Well, they fail to understand that as you get further and further out, you're getting more and more distance and fewer pixels. They can't wrap their head around the idea that you're compressing the curve. But the whole point of this, I mean, basically, Jesse Kozlowski actually had a little image on this in a Hangout somewhere. I can't remember where it was exactly, but one of the examples I keep bringing up is if you look down a cue stick, I'm sure you guys have played billiards. If you look down a cue stick, you can tell if it's bowed or not, and that's exactly what we're applying here. And we can apply the same idea anywhere, and there's many places around the world there has to be where we can take similar observations. I have two in my lake that I know of, and there's probably a third. There's a railroad line that goes across on the east side. It's shorter, but it probably could get the same observation. But there's got to be at least hundreds out there, and I don't want to be the only guy taking these pictures. Now I'm currently in California, and in California there's just tons of electric lines, and there's also these windmill farms, and also there's Lake Tahoe, and Lake Tahoe is this like 20-mile long or 24-mile. I can't remember the exact measurement, so don't hold me to it. But it's in the 20s of miles long in one direction, from the South Shore to the North Shore. There are so many observations that could be made in that lake alone just by taking a boat and driving it over the horizon by the conventional model guys. And so what I'm asking, I'm kind of putting an all call out there for other people to make these same observations. And the equipment I bought is, cheap equipment. And pretty much anybody could buy this equipment. and you can make these observations. Now, the flat earthers want people to go out there with telescopes for some reason, and I've set up a Patreon and asked them to donate their money to make it happen, but they won't, obviously. But the point is that anybody can make these observations, and there's hundreds of them at least around the world to be made. So let's go do it and just bury them in it.
Just to clarify, there's hundreds of them all around the globe.
Yes.
Yep. So maybe somebody out there would like to send Soundly a P900 camera. That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Hey, I'll take it.
Well, Lake Tahoe's just up the road from me, so I have a P900. I've been meaning to go up there, check it out.
I just went out there yesterday, and I took some pictures of. They have a little steamboat that goes across about midway, I guess. I don't know. It's on towards the South Shore, and I was catching it right on the horizon. But I mean, there's just it feels like it's a petri dish for the type of stuff that we're doing debunking flat earthers. You know, it's just like there it is. It has everything you need. You have mountains in the background over the horizon, and you have boats. You know, and a flat, almost perfectly flat on some days lake. I mean, and by flat I mean calm and curved.
Yeah, my favorite example of that type of thing is my views of Catalina, where you see, oops, get rid of that one. You see, this is Catalina View from Santa Monica Pier. And from down on the beach down here, most of it is obscured, and you get a little bit higher up, it becomes visible, and further up, it's most of it is visible. But you know, this is a view of an island that's accessible to 10 million people in Los Angeles. Like anyone could just go down there and check it out. There are so many points on the globe where you can actually go and actually see the curve that it's ridiculous that people like. Say that there's no way you can go and find the curve. Like here's an actual example where it shows the curve of the Earth.
Well, I mean, look at San Francisco, just a little bit further north. I mean, you have this gigantic bay, you know, and you can see from towards the San Jose Mountain View area up towards the San Francisco, and you can clearly see the buildings being obstructed by the horizon. I mean, how many millions of people are there around the San Francisco area? So go out there and make the observations, people, and let's just overwhelm them with these observations. That's my opinion of what we should do.
Yeah, and I encourage collaboration as well. So, you know, if any flat earthers would like to come alongside globe earthers and collaborate in real-world practical experiments, let's do it. If we're searching for the truth, then we should not fear collaboration. We should be working together to see what the results show us. So, you know, I'd love to be shoulder to shoulder with a flat earther and our two P900 cameras and compare the results that we get. Some of my viewers will remember that I uploaded a video filmed from Makatu, which was down the coast from where I live. I filmed Mount Maunganui from about 18 miles away. And just as Soundly has found, there's always the criticisms that come back, and I intend to go back there on a nice clear day where there is not a lot of haze and refraction. I'll go earlier in the morning before it gets too hot, and get some nice clear images just to address those criticisms. But certainly if there are any flat earth believers that live locally, I'd certainly welcome them to come along with me and make sure that I'm being kept honest.
One of the things I've asked for a few times is a checklist. I mean, give me a finite checklist of all your objections, and then let me go answer them. Because, you know, it seems to be that there's this infinite list that grows. The bar is constantly moving. And why not? If you want to be honest, if you're after the truth, tell me what will convince you as a flat earther. What will convince you that these towers are actually curving, or that the causeway is curving? I mean, I'm not sure what more I can do besides the night shot of the causeway with the lights coming up over the horizon. I mean, the car lights coming up over the horizon seems to be pretty conclusive to me. I'm not sure what the objections could even be. Most flat earthers ignore that one. But if you really are after the truth, then give me a finite checklist of observations you want me to make on these towers, and I will try and put them together. Not to say I can do it, as quickly as I did these other observations, but I'll try and get a boat. If you want me to do it from the other side, tell me what you want to do, and give me a finite list, and I'll go do it.
Right, now, Mick, if you've still got your Google Earth open there, would you mind pulling the Pontchartrain Bridge, and we'll address another point that was made in Dr. Zack's video, where he claimed that the stitching of the images in Google Earth meant that the measurements could not be trusted as being straight anyway. That was my understanding of what he was saying. I'll present your screen again once you've got Google Earth up again there, Mick. Now, I took a look at the Pontchartrain Bridge in Google Earth, and I drew a straight line from one end to the other, and it certainly looked pretty straight to me. So,
yeah, it looks pretty straight to me. I don't really see any reason to. This is a bunch of stitched photographs. The suggestion that it might have just coincidentally ended up straight just seems pretty ridiculous to me. It is, as you say, straight. Like I had a path to it.
In one of the Flat Earth Tears videos, Grandpa Soundly went and actually drew a line in the part of the bridge that was actually curving and showed that they were perfectly straight on Google Earth. Now my challenge, I suppose, is that a flat earther give us any rational reason to believe it's not straight, and then also explain to us how much out of alignment pillars can be and still be considered straight. Because when we're talking about 8 miles away, 2 inches out of alignment doesn't mean anything.
No.
So
I think an interesting thing with straight roads and things like that is that they're often done using latitude and longitude, and they kind of interpolate between the latitude and longitude, which actually makes them very, very slightly curved away from a great circle. So they end up being not exactly straight. Like if you look at some very, very long roads that are around like 80 miles or so long, they go along like a line of latitude. So they do actually deviate very slightly from what you see, like as a great circle line in Google Earth. The straight lines in Google Earth are actual great circles, but I think when the bridges were laid out, they might be laid out by just linear extrapolations of the latitude and longitude, which gives a very slight deviation from that, but it's still essentially it's straight.
Right. So we can see here that this Lake Pontchartrain Bridge is perfectly straight in Google Earth. Now, we always hear the flat Earth believers are using the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge as an example to try and prove flat Earth, saying that it's perfectly straight, and they say that it doesn't curve. So we know that the bridge is perfectly straight, and it shows that it's perfectly straight even in Google Earth, which really contradicts the claim that Dr. Zack was making in his video about the stitching of the photos. Once again, I think it was a pretty desperate attempt at trying to discredit Soundly's video. And the thing that really bothers me about Dr. Zack's video is that even though he knows that he was actually looking at the wrong row of power pylons, the ones that were going from pretty much from east to west across our view in Google Earth, rather than the ones from north to south, his video was still up there for all to see. Soundly, has he done a response video to clarify that he actually had the wrong set of pylons?
No, I've not seen him do a response video. I mean, if he did, I haven't seen it. I think that's even the last video on his channel, isn't it? I think it's still the same one.
Right. So I think that you might have mentioned that he had made the claim that even though it was the wrong set of pylons, that the same applied anyway. So I gather that was in a YouTube comment, was it?
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. I'll pull it up and share it. Pull up Nurse Hack's comment.
Okay, have you got something else to show there, Mick, before we go
Not
off?
really. I'm just kind of flying around here. Sorry, I'm just going to showing that the pylons on this particular leg are in fact perfectly straight because they match up with this this path that I did all the way over. And this actually is a great circle path, so it's perfectly straight all the way across.
Right.
As we saw that what we see in Google Earth from this exact straight line matches exactly what we see from reality.
Exactly. And as I mentioned earlier too, that the correct line of power pylons, the ones that we're seeing on screen now, that line goes for, as I recall, it was about 16 miles.
Yeah, from the observer.
Yeah, about 16 miles from coast to coast.
Yeah. I measured from where I took the south side photograph across to the tall tower, and it was 15.9.
Right.
So
the other row of pylons that Dr. Zack used in his video went for 10 miles. Now that will also, if they had been the line of pylons that you had filmed, then that would obviously affect the resulting curvature that we would see, because the more distance that you've got, the more curvature we're going to see as apparent on there.
Yes.
So, okay, so I'll share your screen soundly.
Yeah, so I'll just flip back over here to Dr. Zack's channel, and here's his last video. Still the same video. Still up, 78,000 views. And if you look in the description here, it seems like I was talking about the wrong power lines in this video.
Right.
So, and if you continue reading, basically he says that his conclusions are still valid. Well, his premise for the entire video was that the power lines were actually turning to the south. You know, they're not. The power lines that are actually being discussed are not turning at all. So his entire video is invalid, in my opinion. But if you also, one thing I wanted to point out is that if you also look at Karen B's little setup here, let me find the one. Let's see here. There it is. No, that's not it. There's one of them in here. There's one of these videos in here where they're trying to say that things disappear from the bottom first because of perspective. And they're trying to say that the table is flat, but the table is clearly not flat. The table is bowed whenever they make this argument. And I'm trying to find that video. This is it right here.
Right.
So this is the part of the video.
Soundly, can you just put that in theater mode so we've got a bigger player there?
Can you see it full screen like this?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so you can see right here that these further towers, that are Lego towers that they've made, these further towers are being hidden by this bow in the table. But the table is bowed. And they're claiming that the table is flat, and they're making this a point. They're trying to say, yes, things that are further away are hidden by, you know, this, I don't know, whatever they want to call it, some figment of their imagination, magical stuff that happens. It's not perspective, so I don't want to call it that, but that's what they try to call it. So
yes, that's their magic word for explaining everything. Perspective.
So my question is, if you're a flat earther, why do you tolerate this type of deception? That's what I want to know, because there's a lot of deception that goes on out there in a community that's supposed to be, you know, representing the faith, which is based on, or the foundation of truth. And I've made this point before in my other videos. If your faith is the foundation of truth, why do you have to lie? I mean,
Yep.
Why do you have to lie to convince people to join your cult? It doesn't make sense. So I would just challenge flat earthers to hold Zack to a higher standard, because this is an obvious deception.
And that was his last video, is that correct?
It's still his last video, and it's still up yet.
Right, and that was uploaded on June the 6th, correct?
June 6th, yeah.
Yeah, and it is now June the 12th. So,
Oh, here's another thing. My bad. I wanted to ask the person who took the pictures, but I never knew who he was. And that is a blatant lie, as he was talking to me in the comments. I mean, where is that comment? He actually responded to me in the comments, which is not here anymore. That's interesting.
Okay, you might be able to pull that up. I don't know if you get your comments through your email notifications, but it may still exist in your email notifications if you do. It's something I never delete, because they're often very helpful when people delete comments.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. So he can actually, yeah. I guess it's deleted or hidden or something. I don't know. I'll try and find it. But yeah, I said, I basically called him out. I said, you're blatantly lying, and I can't wait to debunk this video. And he said, well, hurry up, the clock's ticking.
Right.
So he responded to me.
Has he been on a live hangout with you at all?
No, he has not.
Okay, well, here's an invitation for Dr. Zack. I would like to invite you, Dr. Zack, to join us for a live hangout sometime. We'll arrange a suitable time. I will undertake, as always, to be polite and respectful, as I always am with my guests, and we'll try and have a respectful discussion about what we're seeing in Soundly's videos, and you can put forward your case. We'll discuss your points and hear what Soundly has to say in response as well. You know, we're just coming up to the hour, so I'll wind this up pretty soon. Mick, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I don't have anything specifically to add. I'm sure there's more. I've commented so many times on different comments and like different objections that come up. Some of them seem ridiculous, but basically, I just let me add this. Let me finish with this. The observations are easy for anyone to make. Maybe not necessarily the pictures, but you can drive out there yourself and drive past there, and you can see it for yourself. I mean, the towers curve. It's very easy to see. It's right outside of New Orleans, which is a great city to visit. So just plan a vacation, go see the towers while you're there. And if you have any other comments or suggestions about different observations I could make around these towers or the causeway, the Pontchartrain causeway, or anything else on the Pontchartrain, then let me know and I'll do it. But if you haven't been out here and you haven't seen it for yourself, then why are you even commenting on this? Because you have no knowledge to talk about it. And I'm specifically talking about flat earthers that try to speak with authority when they have no knowledge of this whatsoever. So
right. Now, just to be clear, you're saying that you can actually see this curvature with your eyes as you're driving by?
You can, yes, if you have good eyesight, if you have 20/20 eyesight or glasses or whatever it takes to get 20/20 vision, that you can see this from the bridge where I was. And the part of the reason why I even went out and started doing this is because I could see it, make it out with my eyes.
Right.
So yeah, you can go out there with your eyes, but if you don't want to, if you don't want to trust that you can see it with your eyes, bring a pair of binoculars, because you can definitely see with a pair of binoculars. I mean, I have a 300 millimeter lens, but I'll also have a smaller lens, right? And I can see it in the smaller lens, the 55 millimeter, and the 55 millimeter is pretty close to eyesight. So yeah, you can see it.
Right. Okay. Okay. So Mick West, have you got anything that you'd like to add? Looks like you're muted at the moment.
No, I'd just like to kind of echo the same thing, but you know, Louisiana is a very flat state, and in California we have a different set of circumstances. Like we have mountains and things we can look at. So I would encourage people to go out and look at Catalina Island from Los Angeles and do it from different points of view. Do it from down on the beach. Do it from on the pier. Do it from up the hill. And you can do the same thing like all along the coast, no matter where you are. Like look at things from different heights and see how they vary from different heights. And that shows you that there is a curve of the ocean and you can see things going behind it. And if you've got a P900 or a good set of binoculars, you can zoom in on it and you can see that it doesn't actually change. Nothing changes as you zoom in. So just go out there and just verify these things for yourself.
Right. Thank you, Mick. And thank you, Soundly, and thanks to everybody in the chat as well. Thank you for coming along and watching, and hope to do a follow-up on this at some stage. And as I say, Dr. Zack, you're most welcome to join us for a hangout. And let's discuss what we see, and let's try and get to the truth. So thank you for watching, everyone, and good night.
Dazza.
Oh, sorry.
Let me say one more thing.
Yep.
I think my ultimate goal would be to attach a Celestron 8-inch telescope to this to my camera, and to get as close a shot as I think is humanly possible. You know, with a modest budget. So that is my ultimate goal. If anybody wants to help me out, please do. I do have a Patreon set up, but I don't like asking for money, but I would love to do that. So,
well, as someone who has access to a Meade LX90 8-inch telescope and a Canon 60DA DSLR camera that we use with that telescope, and I also have a Nikon P900, I can say that I actually enjoy using the P900 filming the moon more than using the Canon with the telescope. And I think that probably a P900 would work really, really well, and of course wouldn't be so cumbersome as a telescope.
I will do that too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, according to the flat earthers, of course, the P900 is the ultimate camera for proving flat Earth. So it obviously has to be the ultimate camera for debunking flat Earth as well.
Let me share this one more thing that I tried to mention earlier, but I forgot. Let me do screen share. Am I sharing right now?
Let me see if I can pull that up.
There we go. There we go. Okay. So this is one of the things I meant to bring up earlier. You can see it, right? This shot of the towers.
Yes, I can see that.
Okay. So this was done. This is a 30-second exposure, and I did this specifically for Anthony Riley. Anthony Riley and Ranty Rant, because both of them said, why don't you just go back? Because basically I told them about the dangerous scenario it is to take pictures here. And so, of course, they raised the bar to something they thought I wouldn't do. They said, why don't you go back and take it at night when there won't be any type of atmospheric distortion? For some reason, they think atmospheric distortion only works during the day. So I did. I went back and took this 30-second exposure right here. It wasn't very easy to do because I had to wait for gaps in traffic, but because the traffic blows my car around. But the point is that here is the picture specifically made for Anthony Riley and Ranty Rant, and they know about it and they know it exists, and they basically implied that this would be more evidence convincing them that it's actually curving. Well, here it is, and I am publicly challenging them to respond to this picture.
Right, now those white lights, can you explain those, please? What are they? What are we seeing there?
So some of the towers have these, I guess they're just like little flashing lights. They just blink on and off real fast. They're actually really hard to see from where I was, because this scene actually is very, very dark. As I pulled the exposure up so you could see it better. But this scene is very, very dark in real life. I actually had to take my camera and try and center up the red dot, the red light in the far tower to try and get this picture, because I could barely even make out the towers in front of me. But those are little flashing lights that they flash on and off real quickly, and it's kind of like almost like a Christmas a thread of Christmas lights. They blink in the sequence all the way up to the thing. So for 30 seconds, holding the holding the shutter open for 30 seconds, I'm able to actually capture those. So that's what you're seeing.
Right. And if you go back to that clearer shot, again, we can clearly see the curvature there, and nighttime shot as they requested to get around the atmospheric distortion. And to be fair, I mean, without the heat of the day, you're going to get less heat haze and mirage effect. But of course, the atmosphere is always going to affect things, particularly when you're looking horizontally. We're looking through considerably more density of atmosphere than when we're looking up into the sky. And we can clearly see that red light on the tall tower in that image as well.
This was also taken at night. I mean, not at night. I mean, obviously, this was also taken when it was raining, and so full overcast and raining. And one of the things I wanted to point out is that I have not done any analysis on is, what is this tower over here? Because I bet that's even a further tower that's being obstructed by the horizon. I haven't done any analysis on it to figure out what that is. There's actually another shot in here where I get a tower to the left too, a white tower to the left. I believe it's this one. There's a white tower over here to the left. So there's still more analysis. There's still more analysis to be made on this picture that I just haven't done yet. And whoever wants to do it, these images are out there for you to look at yourself. So if you want to do some analysis on it, feel free.
Right. Okay. Was there something, I see you've got your Google Earth open there, Mick West. Did you want to share something there? And you're muted.
Oh, I'm back. All right. I just wanted to see if I could duplicate the view from that side. So I just moved the camera over to this this position, and I'm just going to try zooming in on that side. Now, a point I wanted to make was that people talk about the path not being straight, or it being straight, or one way or the other. But if it wasn't straight and it was the bend in the path of the towers that was causing this little curve, then it would bend the other way if you viewed it from the other side. It would actually bend kind of like more up down to the other side. So you wouldn't get this bending down from both positions. So the fact that it bends down on both sides indicates that it is actually the actual curve of the Earth, and it's not a curve to the left or to the right, because it's the same curve from both viewpoints.
Now notice too, it's the video response with the pegs on the table. Was it the line of the pegs actually curved upwards, not downwards, from our line of sight?
Yeah, I don't know if they did the viewpoint from both sides in that that situation.
So Mick, that was from the opposite end, like where the far tower was?
The west side, the same as your night view. So I'm just going to mess up my viewpoint here. Let me just try to get it back. Oops. Yeah, this Google Earth kind of goes a bit wacky sometimes. So let's zoom back down to the ground. So this is just the view from the other side. So I've got that set up now, so I should be able to put that in the wrong folder there. But this view here is from the southeast side, And this view here is from the other side, and you see it's basically exactly the same curve, no matter which way you look at it, which you can only do if it is actually a straight line that is bending down over the horizon.
Yeah, nice.
Now that frame, the square that we saw there, was that a field of view marker?
That's just like a little thing I do for doing these zoomed in things, which are actually photos. I use a transparent photo. This URL here like goes to a transparent photo. You can also just move this to transparent if you like. And then I just change the field of view down here. It's just the way I set up views like this in Google Earth. It's quite hard otherwise to get the field of view correct.
Right. Okay.
So this essentially is the field of view, but it's kind of meaningless really.
How hard is it to make that little thing in Google Earth, whatever you did there?
This here?
Yeah.
It's very hard. I had to write a program to do it.
Yeah.
But I've written the program, and now you can just enter in latitude and longitude, and it will create it for you. Can't remember what I called it, but it's a URL somewhere on Metabunk.
I was curious about that, about applying that to the little huts on the side of the causeway. Have you guys seen that picture?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm curious what it would look like as far as that goes. And yeah, the huts on the side of the causeway is another thing, and I don't know. The causeway to me is actually more convincing. The huts on the side of the causeway and the nights coming, the car lights coming over the horizon at night. Those two things, like, I don't know. I feel like you can't even really argue with them. But I guess you can't really argue with the towers either.
This is the tool that I wrote. If you want to try using it, it's metabunk.org/GEmaker. And you can just enter in the start latitude and longitude and the end latitude and longitude, the height of the path, and then the space between the points on the path. And then you can create it, and it will create some KML for you, and then you can download that, and then you can load it into Google Earth. It defaults to this particular path, but if you edit the latitude and longitude, it will give you a different one. So you could do it for the bridge as well if you wanted.
That's great. Thanks, Mick.
That's awesome. Okay, guys, well, if there's nothing else to add, I'll wind up the Hangout now. Thanks again to everyone for watching and joining the chat. Thank you, Soundly, for your excellent videos. Great to see the work that you're doing there, and I think it's, if for anybody that wants to argue with what we're seeing in those videos, I just have to scratch my head, I'm afraid. But anyway, this is the nature of the debate. And thank you, Mick West from metabunk.org. That's been a very helpful addition to the Hangout with what you've been able to contribute as well. So thank you for joining us. And with that, I'll say good night.
Thanks for hosting, Dazza. Appreciate it, man. Thanks, Mick.
Thank you. Good
Thanks,
night.
everybody, for joining.